I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakar Kadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and taught us his truth, and to the Akim out here that's pushing this word. This is the brother Yakalam from the GMS Boston camp, and out of one Ratazal through the Spirit. This video is edifying. I want to speak on an article from RT News. For brothers who've been watching the news and those tuning in, there's been a lot of trade war, basically, especially with the tariffs that are going on in China that the U.S. imposed on China, and then China posing them back. But now, America, they want to impose more tariffs, and this article says it how it is. China vows immediate retaliation if U.S. proceeds with new tariffs. And what do you think that retaliation is? They're talking about war. That's why they call it trade wars, and going into it, basically just reading a little bit of the article, it says Beijing has refused to sit idle if Washington hits $300 billion worth of Chinese imports with additional 10% late levies, calling the decision a violation of agreement. Now, you got to understand that's why the scripture, describes this devil, which is a so-called white man, that the Bible speaks of, Then it also goes into Ecclesiasticus 12:10. Get right to the point. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is this wickedness. And that's a perfect example. This man has violated all type of agreements, and you got to think about Gad, or the so-called Native Americans, how many agreements they had with Gad, but yet they kept pushing them further and further into the reservation, taking their land, causing them to really get into heavy alcoholism. But from examples of this damn devil, how he moves in modern times, basically what they did with Libya is a perfect example, because George Bush and them had an agreement that they would never attack Libya until President Obama came, but it was really because he wanted to start to use the gold currency and get rid of the dollar. And these damn devils, I mean, they didn't give a fuck about the agreement at that point, and they went and invaded Libya. And look at Libya now. The point being is that's how these devils work. You can make an agreement with them all they want, but it doesn't matter. That's why the scripture says, never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. And the so-called white man, which is the devil that the Bible speaks of, he's an enemy of Yasharallah, and he's the enemy of all these other nations, especially China, who are the biblical Moabites. And, to piggyback off another article, I'm going to go into the bookmark section. It says that 9 hours ago, it says that Trump says a trade agreement with U.S. will be on U.S. terms. Adarantazah, they go at number 1444. Adarantazah mean a little willing, we're part of that hopeful elect, but it says Trump says a trade agreement with China will be on U.S. terms. And it goes to show, even when this devil wants to agree, it got to be on his terms. And listen, man, the world is tired of it. And I want to bring out Isaiah 10:1, because it says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees. And if you look at all these tariffs and all these taxes, it's unrighteous. And it says, and that right grievous which they have prescribed, because that's why the scripture Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And you got to ask yourself, especially those who say, the Edomites are, the so-called Arabs. They don't have the power to do this, but the so-called white man does. He rules the world wickedly. Not only does he impose those unrighteous decrees on Jake with all these damn bills and taxes and insurance scams and the whole medical scam thing, he's imposing it on these other countries, and they're going to have enough, and that's going to be part of that war. But ultimately, that's going to be part of them, all these other nations shooting off at this place, and that's according to Obadiah 1:7, when it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. So, these other nations, they deal with America because they want things just like they want America to buy their products. But at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck about these Edomites. And that's why the scripture says that they're gonna that they're gonna blast off at this place with those ICBM missiles. And going back on Obadiah 1:7, it says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. And that's twofold, because these Edomites are over here deceiving the biblical Moabites, and likewise these Moabites are deceiving these damn Edomites because it's going to be biblical prophecy. This place is going to be destroyed by them, and it says, they have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, and there's no understanding in Esau. These damn Edomites. That's why it says Trump says a trade agreement will be on U.S. terms, and this is after China. It says China vows immediate retaliation. So you got a country that got nuke capability just like you. China got one of the largest armies, but you're so proud, like the scripture describes you are, and I'm talking about you so-called white people, biblical Edomites, that you gonna turn around and say, you know what? Let's not dare fail. If you want these tariffs taken off, it's gonna be on our terms. Like, yo, this devil gotta be destroyed. Not only are we tired of him, these other nations are getting tired of him, and that's part of prophecy. And that's why 2 Ezra 9:1, where it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it's the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit, which he made. And that's beautiful because we're measuring the time diligently. When we watch these news and we hear these trade wars, we know that's that build up to when it's just going to be an all out nuclear blast on this damn place, which is the biblical Virgin Babylon that needs to be destroyed for all its wickedness, because the wickedness, the sins have reached the heavens. And when he was saying, going into the things that he spoke before, you can bring out Matthew 24:6, because it says, when the prophets asked the Lord, when shall be a return, and the Lord says, no man knows the time, but he gave a hint. And that's why we're measuring the time diligently, because it said, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. You got these trade wars, you got the nuclear war, you got the damn civil wars going on amongst people, which is Jacob's trouble. And it says, ye that see, ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And of course, you speaking as a man, you worry, but the scripture says to put our trust in the Lord, and blessed is he who puts his trust in the Lord, and the Lord is going to take care of his elect. That's why we say Adonai Tazel, which is Lord willing, that we're part of that number, because he gave the hint. When you watch the news and you're like, damn, we're really coming up to that time, and we want this place to be destroyed so the kingdom could come in. But in order for the kingdom to come in, we're going to have to go through pain. Some of us are going to be put to death. Some of us are going to be tried. In order to have the good, you have to experience the bad. And he also went in to say, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there should be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So we're getting ready, for things to really be turned up, because all these other nations are tired of the U.S. Jake's tired of these motherfuckers, let alone these other nations. And that's why Jeremiah 15:14 is beautiful, because it says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. And it's going to be the Moabites doing that. The Moabites is one of those nations that's going to be shooting over here, especially, they everybody's tired of the U.S. and tired of the bullshit democracy, which brings their wicked philosophies over there, putting them enslaved to the damn elites, which you so-called Rothschilds, well, not so-called, but you so-called Jews, you Khazars, which are you Rothschilds, J.P. Morgans, Rockefellers. The world's tired of being in debt to them, tired of having the basement rule over us. And going back into Jeremiah 15:14, it says, for she hath sinned against the Lord, shout against her round about, she hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord, take vengeance upon her, as she has done unto her. And this is beautiful, because ultimately it's the Lord putting the spirit, using these other nations to judge this place with those ICBM missiles, which is that lake of fire that the Bible spoke of. So that's why our brothers is measuring the time diligently, because we're coming up on them times. And it's only gonna get worse, especially with this damn devil in here. But we want the kingdom. We're just hoping for the kingdom. More importantly, hoping to be a part of that elect, because we can't do it on our own. The Lord's gonna be our guide. Once again, we say Adonai is ever part of that number. So, brothers, I hope this video was edifying. It's just a quick lesson on this article, just to measure the time diligently, because these countries ain't playing, and it's prophecy that they're going to shoot off at this place and destroy it, and we don't want to be here. We want to be beamed up in them chariots. So I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem, Kadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and to the Ark in my hand that's pushing this word. Till next time, Yahshua, Shalom.